Belden Lake, Belden's Reef, all this area back in here. We know, again, plenty of water in our system. We've been working in these back lakes that are all back around here, just on the backside of the intercoastal there toward Roddy Island, Ayers Island, all that area back into here. Working around here around Ayers Reef. Again, a lot of these trout, if you're primarily looking for trout, man, there's lots of trout that are on these reefs, and they've been showing up there for a while now. So really just kind of take your time there and focus on that if that's what you like to do. Ayers, the shoreline here, we've kind of worked that. We just kind of work these real slow, real easy. Nothing too difficult. Like I say, good bottoms to wade. You've got lots of opportunity in and around this shell. Be careful now. This, like I say, you got lots of shell reefs that are up here. If you're not familiar or too familiar or very comfortable with these particular locations up there, just be careful with your boat in there and just kind of ease into an area if you're wanting to fish that. But again, these areas along here are just wide open. There's no protection from these big old southeast breezes that we've had. So that's the one thing that you have to take into account for where you're going to kind of set up. But we've just been working these edges nice and slow, just kind of letting our bite take place. We're on the backside of the new moon now, so we're going to be in those transition days. So that's where we kind of have to get with different baits to see primarily what these fish are really going to want. Are they going to still want something bigger? Are they going to try to get into something a little bit smaller? Still have a variety of baits that you throw in your box. And just kind of play with that, especially if you've got, again, if you got multiple people that you're fishing with on that particular day that you're going to do a trip, then have everybody put on something just a little bit different. Throw something bigger, something medium size, something smaller, maybe a fatter profile, like a soft dine XL as opposed to a burner shad or something to that effect, just to see if your different quality of fish is better with the bigger or smaller baits, or if you get more opportunities with the bigger or smaller baits or medium-sized baits, whatever that case is. Just look if you can do that and stick with that. And of course, if you're fishing by yourself or just you and one other person, then y'all can just kind of change up and do some stuff along that. But we just been working these edges, just taking our time with the shell, working off that, work the cuts, work the guts, work over the shell, work over the drop-offs, those types of things. That's the kind of areas that we've been targeting in and around all this shell, and it's been fairly productive for us. Primarily lots of trout. Few sprinkled in redfish, not as much, but that's kind of been what we've kind of focused on is what our trout is, and we're catching those trout again in that 15 to 18 mark, all pretty solid. We've cut a lot of them loose. Like I say, if you don't need to keep those fish, then let those females continue to go, because they're still got eggs, they're still producing eggs, and we'd like to try to get as many of those back into our system as possible. But that said, if you need to take one or two, then so be it. But we've been working down south, primarily, that supermodel size and original size, throwing a little bit of the burner shad in there, throwing the mirror lure, Little John's, golden red glitter, kitchen sink. Those two main ones, watermelon red's always been very productive for us as well. And of course, in the Little John XL has been pretty good too. It's just a little bit bigger profile, a little bit more dart in action, so it's been pretty good as well. Nothing as far as same flavors, the pearl, watermelon red, golden red glitter in that as well. So if there's another flavor that you like in it, or like I think purple demon is another one that can be good depending on what the water clarity is. We've been throwing it in a little bit more off color or dirty water. Knock and tail, it's been the same ones, rogue, greenback, heavy metal. It's been very productive for us. They've done well. But again, it's going to change in these transition days. So have that variety so you can kind of change it up. Soft Dine XL, all these different flavors have been very good for us and done as far as that profile. So like I say, we're getting out of the new moon, hitting those transition days. So just keep that in mind. Again, pay attention to what your weather patterns are going to be, because it sucks when you get caught out there in one of these big old storms that come rolling in. So just be aware of that kind of stuff. Safety is always number one in the water and on the water as you're moving out and about on your days. Over here in Spalding, these back lakes back here again, taking advantage of the higher water that we've had, it has opened up these back lakes quite a bit, that you can get back into a lot of these things now real easy. Working these back lakes really, I like this middle one right here. This whole back lake here, it's been pretty good. Not a lot of fish in it, primarily redfish back in there, but we can say it's good to get in there because you can get out of the wind and kind of protect yourself. And it's not highly pressurized place, so not a lot of boats run up in there. So that's why these fish will get back in some of these areas and just kind of hang out. So, if you can weight it really easy, and you can just cover some water back in there and have some pretty solid days. And of course, we've just kind of worked out the guts, fished on the outside, fished down the shoreline, fished in the mouths of some of these guts. We come around here into Carlos. The fingers have been pretty good for us. All that area back in there. I like to get into this one back lake right here, and what I'll do is that I'll just drop the boat on this outside and just walk across and get into it like that. And of course, that opens you up into other back lakes that are all interconnected in there. So it's just a different way to do it. There's a little path that you get into from the Spalding side, but sometimes it's just easier just to do it that way. But it's whatever you like and how you like to go about it. So it's just something a little different that I like to do from time to time. But all these back lakes back there, they've got fish in them. They've been holding fish pretty well. Again, with the extra water that we've had. At some point that water's really going to drop out of there. So when that does, it's going to be interesting to see that the next day whenever that process does take place, whenever that might be. So anyway, just take your time working these areas. Like I say, we're transition days, throwing your medium to smaller baits, even try the bigger baits if you so choose, that type of thing. Looking at what your water clarity is will kind of dictate to you if you want that lighter or darker bait flavor. In working all those, because down south has been a go-to for a long time. The super models, the original size, the burner shad have been good. Big smooth, like I said, that's the other model bait that down south has put into their system, and it's a really good bait. If you haven't thrown those, try them. They're really good. A lot of great action on those, and we've been throwing those in these back lakes. And it's been fairly productive for us. Topwater bait's been another one that's been good. We're throwing the topwaters in these back lakes. I like throwing topwater in back lakes. Just does really well with that. And you can really cover a lot of water with it. And you can have some really good times when these fish really attack those baits like that. But if it's not, then continue to work your medium size to smaller size and the knock and tail baits and the mirror lure baits and all those different flavors like that. Paying attention to what your majors and minors are, paying attention to what your weather patterns are. Like I say, it's been pretty volatile here for the last few weeks. It's kind of been all over the place. So always put that in consideration in your plan whenever you start to have your fishing day. Up here in Mission Bay, this area back here on the right-hand side, it's another great little area back here in Mission. You can kind of get out of the wind and on certain sides of it, depending on what wind you got. Of course, be careful as you're getting across Copano Bay if it's a big windy day, because that sucker can get pretty rough on you. But, there's lots if you fish Mission very much, it's got lots of little reefs that are all scattered out back in there. Of course, with the higher waters that we've had, that really hasn't come into play. But depending on what kind of GPS and system that you have on your boat, you can really see those because it really lights up on certain ones depending on what one you have. We get back here on the very back shoreline back there on the Mission River side and fish that shoreline, get back in that big back lake back behind it that comes off of the river. You can wade that, but it's kind of squishy back in there. It's really fun to throw topwaters back in there. Some days your actions are really good, and other days you're just chunking and just practicing a lot, and there's not very much opportunity at all. So just kind of take that in consideration. If you're gonna try to wade that area back in there, then just be aware that it's pretty squishy in that, and sometimes you just stay in the boat and just work it off the boat. And much as I don't like to do that, sometimes it's necessary to do that if you're trying to fish a particular lake. Then we'll get back out and we'll get on the other side of the Mission River and get on that back shoreline there as it heads back into Mission Lake as well. Fish that whole shoreline over there and get back up in Mission Lake itself and just kind of get on one of the shorelines and work it. And it's kind of soft as well in there, but it's manageable. You can do it. Sometimes you'll get fortunate and you'll find you a pack of redfish or some trout that are stacked back up in one of those little corners, just working all that. So anyway, just kind of spend your time back in that area if you so choose. And of course you got the whole shoreline over here on this southwest corner that comes back around to the top. We work all that shoreline around there. We work the cut through. We come on the outside, and if we've got it's a favorable wind. If it's not terrible, then we'll get down here off the point, and then we'll get that southeast breeze, and it's blowing, diagonally into that shoreline. We can work all that edge out there and work the grass line. We can work the drop off. Every so often, we'll pull a flounder off of this sandy area here. It's It's not something that necessarily I'm targeting, but it's always kind of a surprise when we do catch one. But it's nice when we do. But if that's something that you like to do and you're a flounder person, it's a terrific area to do that and to kind of get into that area right there. But again, kind of have to have the favorable conditions depending on the wind. And it has not been the case here as of late. But plenty of area to work back in there. You can do lots of different things. Baits, again, it's been the primarily, they're down south in all different flavors and sizes. The knock and tail is the same thing. Mirror lures, topwater baits, double D, any of those things. A lot of these baits, like I say, we're fixing to get into we're in these transition days, and it's going to be a little bit more difficult. Maybe not. We'll see. Usually you don't know till you throw or get out there and fish it. And so just kind of keep all that in mind when you do that. Keep you some change of colors and sizes and all that kind of thing until you can kind of dial them in and see exactly what they want to do and how they want it presented to them and what flavor that is. But there's plenty opportunity back here in Mission Bay. Float it over the reefs. If you want to fish the reefs and drift those that are out there more in the middle of it, do that. Sometimes that's fun. You'll find trout, redfish in and around those reefs there, especially like, again, what I mentioned earlier about the Simrad or the Garmin, depending on which one you got. They've got those overlays that show all the detail of that stuff back in there, so it makes it interesting so you can really kind of focus on it and have fun fishing it. So again, majors and minors have been our main thing. There always will be. That's our main targets when we're trying to get in our fishing day. So keep those in mind. Make sure, again, safety out on the water. We're in our summertime pattern. Lots more people will be on the water, so just to have a little bit more grace with everybody and just be patient. Everybody will have their opportunity to get to fish and catch. So enjoy your time that you get to have when you're out there fishing.